Good morning again. We will explore the psychological conditioning this morning. We have understood what is conditioning. That is something repeat in our thought patterns, repeat in our emotions, our reactions, and somehow that identity of who I am, which is unconsciously absorbed. By my family around, by the expectations set from the school, from the culture, you name it, we have it. Somewhere there is a fear associated, there is a reward for it, and the cycle keeps repeating until we become unconscious of it. That's what conditioning is. It's very much like how we train animals, we condition the animals, and there is a reward. Typically they're given the food or they're punished. An animal starts behaving like the way we want them to. Somewhere when you look a little deeper, aren't we also something similar? There is some reward we get, there is fear associated if I don't do certain things certain way, and I behave in a certain pattern unconsciously. Initially it was probably the coping mechanism, but over a period of time it becomes so unconscious. And we suffer because of that. We are not very comfortable. We talked about this already. Not being in comfort is not being in ease. Eventually, it's a disease. It could be something simple as your chronic back pain, chronic high migraines, sweating of your palms, whatever like that. In anthroposophical ways, in the way that Steiner put forth, including cancer is something that's coming out of hardened repeating patterns. We talk about this for the teachers during our trainings, the importance of establishing rhythms. And rhythms typically help us understand our own patterns. We talk about transitions, how we need to allow time for ourselves to move from one activity to the next. And in a school setup, especially in a school setup, we don't allow that time. It happens at home as well. For example, I travel quite a bit, and I used to pride on this thought, that I don't know where I wake up. It takes me a few minutes to orient myself as to which place I am in, where the bathroom is, etc. And it used to be kind of something that only I experience or whatever. And this I've been talking about for years now, the transition, the need for transition, the need for rhythm, etc. But only a few days ago I realized, it is having at an understanding level is one thing, but having it as your own knowledge is totally another thing. It's a wisdom that we are talking about. Now, I was out for a whole week in a totally different rhythm, not doing what I was normally used to. Then I come back and I suddenly forget how to orient my laptop or where to plug in what where is. I just couldn't understand what was happening. And then I had to just sit down for a few minutes and give myself that time to understand where I am and where what where and shift, make that shift. There was a conditioning here that I'm expected to adjust instantly. It may not have been external conditioning. Psychological condition is something that got into my psyche, into my intellect, into my thinking level. I may have heard people expect this from someone else. we are praised for doing certain things certain way. And then you somehow apply to yourself. If I also do that, then I will also be praised. And if that pattern is repeated, it becomes hardened conditioning. Now, as simple as anxiety, we just say, I'm anxious. We talked yesterday, instead of saying, I'm anxious, if I change my language to say, I have anxiety right now, that kind of shifts. You will have to practice it to see that. There is a shift in how your body responds. And this conditioning gives us these indications in my body. But to pay attention to those, I need to set aside time. I need to look into it. We are typically trained to be at the head level. And we, even to a small child, we will say, think what you did wrong, or think what you did right yesterday and repeat it today. So we are very thinking oriented society in the present times. Left brain is given the prominence. Cognition has become important. Becoming intelligent has become important. Somewhere, nobody says, how do you feel when you lie? How do you feel when you escape? We were never given that kind of a language at all. Now that we are on the path of understanding ourselves a little better, we are training ourselves to ask these questions a little differently. So, anytime I have this pattern repeating and I become aware of it, I begin to think, analyze what went wrong, what triggered. Right? I'll give you another example. I used to have constant migraines. And I was at a training one time, and the training was very rigorous. It was a 3-day training, and we were given a set of instructions to diligently follow, not miss anything. And every break, tea break, we were supposed to come back on time, or drink only certain amount of coffee or something like that. There were several of those conditions. Invariably, one or the other was always broken by one or the other person. And invariably, we were reminded by the trainer that how many of us have broken. We were made to stand up and acknowledge it and sit down. The fact that we were made to stand up and accept, gave headaches to many of us. It is somewhere where we could not acknowledge it. So the second day evening, every one of us who had unbearable pain, we had to stand up, and almost the entire class stood up. We were only asked to breathe in, pay attention to whichever part was hurting, and breathe out. And whenever we did not feel the pain anymore, we could sit down. And in about 7 to 8 minutes' time, everybody was seated down. The pain had shifted. The pain had come because of the conditioning that I got to be on time, I got to prove. And if I don't follow the instructions, then somebody is judging me, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, whatever those fears are, and different for different people. And then I had not met them. So, being an adult, don't you understand? Think what mistakes you have done. All those patterns emerged, and somewhere it lodged in the body. And what the trainer did was pay attention to it. Do not analyze it, do not interpret it. You don't have to evaluate the situation. I do not need to control my anxiety, control my anger. When I try to control, there is a conflict. When I try to correct, it is again saying, I was wrong. Now you correct it. Now, who is at wrong here? Is it my environment around that is wrong, or is it me who interpreted it differently? Well, let's not get into it. Okay. Now that I feel the anxiety, just look at it. It's in your body. Just like how my trainer has said, breathe in. You don't even have to pay attention to breathing. Just pay attention to that part of your body that is giving an indication that something isn't right or it is not aligned. That's it. It's immediate. It's in that moment. You don't have to say, there are no words for it. You don't have to explain what it is. There is no motive. I don't want to control it. I don't want to correct it. Then there is no this psychological observer telling you did that wrongly. It happened. I feel this in my body right now, and I pay attention to that. Be very deliberate. Every time you have a twitch in your body. And with this practice, even before it comes, you will be able to recognize it and break that pattern. Typically somebody says something to me, and I believe that to be me. And then that goes into the cycle. Oh my God, they found out I'm exposed. What are they thinking about me? That kind of a loop. Then I think they'll reject me. Then if they reject me, I'll be alone. And this is just too unbearable. And I withdraw, or I have a headache and I suffer through it. And for me, the only way to get out of migraine was to go through this deep sleep where my mind, my cognition was not engaged with the world. Only then it would subside. And one time I recognized, I don't know how many of you know this, there was this game called Angry Birds. You had to like pull out a string and let go of something and the birds would fly. I can't recall it. And it was, I had gotten hold of an iPad at that time. I had a headache. Then I started playing that. And after a few minutes of playing it, I recognized my headache was gone. Migraine was gone. And that was my another input. How come in all these years I thought I had to sleep through this undisturbed deep sleep for my migraine to disappear. And now playing this game cured that headache. What was the connection? Somewhere I had to get into thoughtless state. Did not have to go back and keep analyzing why did I get headache? Oh my God, now this headache will not go away. It will persist and I have to suffer and I cannot participate. All these are mental chatter that's coming out of intelligence, that's coming out of expectation. My evening is gone. I've ruined it. All this negative self talk. So going into that state where you are you're not even observing, you're just there. It's happening, that's fine. It's very difficult to understand and I still don't get a hang of it. But especially after that training, which happened almost 30 years ago, maybe 34, 35 years ago, I have not gotten as many migraines as I used to get earlier. It does show up once in a while. But then I know I have to pay attention to it and it'll subside. So somewhere we break that pattern. When I'm paying attention to it, I will not listen to somebody saying something. I will not go through all the mind talk. I will not interpret it and I will not blame myself, then withdraw myself and suffer my body pain, sleep through it. Nothing happened. When I suffered, I slept through it. I may have been fine the next day morning, but then again, if the trigger were to persist, it'll come back again next day. And that's a pattern. All we need to become aware here is what that pattern is and at which stage can I de-link that pattern? Can I break that pattern? That will come when withdraw a little bit, sit and look at it. And it's not really sitting for hours. I mean, because of migraines, I had suffered many days. And during the training, we recognized it was only about 7 to 8 minutes. We were all fine. So somewhere we are again rushed. That is also conditioning. Do it quick. Why are you taking so much time? Look at them. They do it so quickly. So now if I can become conscious of it, become aware of it, take that time, pay attention to what I'm feeling in my body. So I have broken that link. Maybe not at the trigger point, maybe 4 steps down that pattern. But at least I won't go through to a point where I have to sleep the whole night, waste the entire day, sleep the whole night, only then recover. That is what I need to be paying attention to overcome the psychological conditioning. And you have this everywhere. I mean, just sit and observe two people talking. The amount of conditioning that they have gone through, they expect it from someone else. We are unable to see that the things have changed, situations have changed, expectations have changed. Unfortunately, when it happens to me, I expect people to understand me. But the same thing, I'm not able to understand someone else. And that is how the psychological condition also becomes a pattern over generations. I have done it, why can't you do it? And this is when the conflict continues to exist. Seeing becomes important. It is not analyzing using my head. If I'm able to see this pattern, why am I afraid right now? Is analyzing. I am afraid. I feel the fear. Is the perception. So, why am I feeling the fear? What is the trigger point? Let it all subside. But right now, I feel the fear. That's it. And where is it in my body? And pay attention to it. So your head slows down, your interpretation slows down. Again, those interpretations are also based on conditioning only. And there could be an action that you will be required. The action itself is seeing what's happening in the body. See, when I start paying attention to how I feel, now feeling, we talk about this in the threefold nature of human being in our parenting sessions, teacher training sessions. Feeling is the center point. Feeling is the mediator between thinking and doing. And feeling has to be strengthened to have that balance, to bring that equanimity, to understand that there's nothing right or wrong, really, it's just a perception. And it's okay if I didn't do it right. Right? Then when I'm in the present moment, you'll also start seeing the thoughts. Okay, I'm it's like three-foldedness, right? There is a seer, watching me, the observer, looking at another object. So when I stand outside of me and see me seeing something, something shifts over there. It's like third party viewing. I think there was a reel some time ago, with Google Earth, how a person in my immediate surrounding, I'll just see this room, this laptop, this screen, but a person standing from outside, how they can be viewing me in this building, in this city, in this country, the view, the zoom out, perception changes. I don't have to name anybody. I don't have to label. I don't have to judge. I just need to become present to get this insights about whatever is happening in my body. With that, I should be able to get most of this psychological condition addressed. Anytime there is an effort, there is thinking. And that effort appears like it will help me, but then the pattern will return. So my aim here is more to heal so the patterns don't come back. Break that link in that pattern so it doesn't keep repeating. And over a period of time, you will see the number of instances, number of repetitions reducing, the intensity of the pain that it brings for me reducing. That is healing. It's not like an overnight shift. I mean, nothing is going to happen by listening. You may have the information that I should not do this. And we do have lots of those, right? I must walk, I must exercise. I know that. But until actually I do it, I will not experience it. So doing becomes important. In as a first step, the seeing what's happening in my body is itself doing. And when that is in balance, when my head or my thoughts are not running at rocket speed, my feelings are also given that importance, there will be some urge to take some tangible actions that will help me move towards getting healed. So, psychological conditions are the patterns of this thought, emotion, reaction, whatever that's coming to me from my surroundings. And as a human being, I live in that environment. So, I am influenced by it. But I can decide to not get affected by the thoughts, by those stimulus, because I'm paying attention to my body and I'm seeing the disturbance it's causing and I'm choosing to pay attention to it. That's it. And somewhere you'll begin seeing the shift in how those conditionings or how those patterns, how those words that people speak around me affect me. And all that I want is to be at peace, is to be in that neutral balance. And seeing, perceiving will help you do that. Good luck.